Hey guys, Chris Field here, and today we're obviously going inside a beehive, and that's why I'm wearing this awesome beekeeper's suit. I'm so excited. Some of you have been the most excited about this adventure the whole week, and so I'm really excited. We're with my friend Kat, who has about 40 beehives, and I'm going to introduce you to her. She's going to teach you all about beekeeping and honey and a bunch of stuff I don't even know about. And so I'm excited to learn with you. So thanks for bearing with us on the technical difficulties. Let's meet Kat and let's go inside a real beehive, all right? So we're gonna switch out here. All right, this is my friend Kat. Kat, how long have you been working with bees?
I've been keeping bees for about 3 years. And we originally got bees because our property that we bought had an ag valuation on it. So in order to get our taxes to come down a little bit, you can ask your mom and dad about that, we decided to get bees.
That's awesome. So can you show us, before we get to the actual bees, what is this thing you're holding, by the way?
This right here is called a smoker. And so I just put stuff in there and set it on fire, and it produces smoke. And what smoke does is honeybees don't really see that well. All they can see is kind of light and dark. And so how they communicate to each other is by something called a pheromone, which is a smell. So if you think when you walk into your house and you smell your mom baking cookies, you know, man, I'm about to eat something.
It's my favorite smell, yeah.
But when bees smell smoke, it causes them to just calm down. Because if you just open up a hive without smoke, those bees are all gonna, out of their little booties, gonna put out a smell. And if you've been around bees a lot, it's gonna smell like a banana. And if you smell bananas, you know those bees are mad. And so the smoke keeps them calm so that they can't communicate to each other. It makes their banana smell, they can't smell it anymore. And so they kind of just freak out and go down in the hive.
So whenever you're going to go into a hive, you'll use this smoker
to keep them calm.
To calm them down so you can do your work.
Yep.
All right, awesome. So show us what you have here.
So in what you call this right here is called an apiary. And so that means the place where you keep your bees. And so I've got some boxes that are really small. I've got some boxes that have 2 boxes on it. And over here, I've got a box that has 3 boxes on it. And so as the bees grow and multiply, how you add space to a hive is by adding boxes on top.
So would that be the 5 here? Would that be 1 beehive?
That would be considered 1 beehive.
So they would like all think of themselves as a family.
Yes.
It's just a really big family with a bunch of kids.
Yes.
All right. That queen has been busy.
She has.
All right. So do you want to show us inside one of these before we get to the bees?
Before we actually get into the bees, I wanted to show you just kind of what's going to be inside of a box without any bees. So when you get started on bees, this is called a frame. And in the frame, most people use foundation, which is just black plastic. And so what the bees do is they build wax on this plastic so that they can put stuff in it. So when you put it in, it starts out like this. You can see they've started to build a little bit of wax. And then after a little bit of time, it starts looking like this. So you can see they're building up the wax, and they're gonna start putting stuff in that. And so then in a couple of weeks, it'll look like this. So that black plastic now has beeswax built up about 1/4 of an inch. And so inside these tiny holes is where the honeybees are gonna put different things. They're gonna put baby bees, they're gonna put honey, they're gonna put pollen, and then when they're done, they're gonna cover each little bitty hole with a piece of wax to store it. So this is just an empty frame of wax. And if you can see up here, it's just wax. You can put your finger in it, and it breaks down. So when you hear the term beeswax or candles that are made out of wax, this is the stuff that people take and they make it into candles.
Nice.
And then what you all are probably excited about is a frame of honey. And so what those bees have done is they've flown from flower to flower to flower and picked up nectar, which is like just a sweet little syrup. and they come back to the hive, and they don't just put it directly in this cell to make honey. It takes a little bit of time. What they have to do is each one of these little bees is going to pass it from bee to bee to bee. They put the, sorry, I should slow down a little bit. They go to the flower, they take the honey, and they put it in what's called their honey tummy. So they've got two different tummies. One tummy is for their food that they eat, and the other is to store nectar to bring back to their hive. And so they put it in their honey tummy, and there's special stuff called enzymes that starts breaking down that nectar to make it turn into honey. And then when they bring it back, they pass it from sister bee to sister bee to sister bee, and it becomes more and more like honey as they pass it back and forth.
Okay, so bees go to a flower and they get the nectar out of the flower.
Yes.
Does almost every flower have nectar?
Great question. In fact, a lot of flowers aren't a good nectar source. So if you're driving around town and you look and you see blue, right? What are those called? You know what they're called? Blue bonnets. Blue bonnets are actually, you would think there'd be so much nectar in those, but there really isn't a ton of nectar in blue bonnets. The flowers, also their shape matters. So flowers that are really deep, the bees are tiny so they can't get down in there. So you're looking for short, wide flowers like Yopon is one. And you can Google these and look at the pictures. Yopon holly is a really good source of nectar. Mesquite trees are a really good source of nectar. Privet, bee balm. I'm trying to think of the real name of that. That's what we call it. But those are different plants that bees really like to go to.
So they'll fly there, they'll get the nectar, they'll put it in their honey stomach.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know bees had two stomachs. They'll bring that back to this hive, and you said they'll start passing it around. These are all girl bees, right?
Yes, we'll talk about the boy bees in a little bit, but these are just the girl bees.
The girl bees, they start passing it from girl to girl, like a note they're passing in class. How many girl bees touch it before it becomes actual honey?
You know, I don't know the exact number, but it's probably more than 10.
Wow, so 10, and it becomes more like honey each time a girl touches it.
Yes.
So we all have girl bees to thank for honey that we enjoy.
Yes.
All right, I'm thanking the girl bees now. All right, that's really interesting.
Then once they put it in the cell, they're gonna flap their wings, almost like an air conditioner, to dry it, to make it less wet. And once it gets to the perfect consistency, they're gonna put a piece of wax over it. So when I'm rubbing my hand on this, there's no honey getting on me because it's capped with wax. So if you wanna eat honey, you've either gotta stick your finger in there or cut off the top layer of the wax and spin the frame in a machine and the honey slings out.
But right now, there's honey inside of there.
Yep. So I will stick my finger right here.
Okay, kids, don't do this at home. Look at that.
There's honey.
Honey right there. If we had some bread, we could make a sandwich.
Exactly. So that is kind of what parts make
That's
up
what
our
we're going to
hive.
see when we open this hive. So before we open this hive, Kat, tell us how many bees in each one of these boxes?
Each one of these boxes, now this is kind of a little hive. We're going to get in a little hive. But a big hive like that pink, purple, yellow one over there could have anywhere from 60 to 80,000 bees.
Wow. Or those three boxes together, 80,000 bees.
It's a lot of bees. That's as many bees that there 80,000 is like if you've been to like a Houston Texans game or like a big professional football game, that's the amount of people that are attending one of those games.
Wow, and they're all jammed in there.
Yes.
And in that box, there's three kinds of bees, you told me.
Yes.
Tell us about the three kinds of bees you'll find in a beehive.
So there are three kinds of bees. There is the girl bees like we talked about. And so the girl bees are probably, in my opinion, the most important bee. They are doing all the work. They are first, when they emerge out of their cell, their first job that the girl bee does is clean up the area around her. So she's going inside her cell, cleaning it up, making it pretty for the next baby.
Right when she's born.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, this sounds like women I know.
And then the next thing that she's gonna do is she's gonna be a nurse bee. So all the baby bees that are in the little, look like little worms, she's gonna be taking care of them, feeding them, taking care of them. And then the next thing she's gonna do is be a guard bee. And so she's gonna sit at the front of the hive and make sure no predators like a skunk or a bear or any sort of animal gets in the hive and steals their honey. And then the last part of her life, she becomes a forager bee. So these bees flying around me right now are forager bees. Their job is to go, well, these are actually probably guard bees, but the ones that you see flying around your swimming pools or at Sonic when you're drinking your drink and you see bees around, those are forager bees. They're just looking for nectar to bring back, or pollen to bring back to their hive.
So are most of the bees we see in a beehive worker bees?
Absolutely.
Okay, almost all of them.
Almost all of them. I'll point out the difference between the bees if we can find them.
Okay, so that's the most common bee is the worker bee, and those are girls, and they do all the hard work just like most of our moms.
Right.
All right, and then what are the other two kind of bees we'll find?
The other two kinds of bees is the boy bees, and they're called drones. And so
Oh.
they're big, fat, they've got round booties, they've got really big eyes because they have basically two jobs. They eat a lot, and then they mate with the queens.
Wow, sounds like a lot of men that I know. So they eat a lot, and then they help make babies with the queen bee.
Yes.
That's their whole job.
Yes, and so it's crazy. If you come out here in about October, November, when it's starting to get cold, you'll see the girl bees are chasing the boy bees out. They're saying, you guys are not welcome here, you're eating too much. And so if you get in a hive during the winter, you're not going to see any boy bees.
Where do the boy bees go when the girls chase them out?
There's none. So the next year, when the queen starts laying eggs again, she will start making boy bees again.
So the boys are kicked out and they never come back.
Yep.
Oh man, that feels a little harsh.
Yeah.
Man, 2020 here, getting real.
Yep.
All right, and then of course the most important bee
The
in a beehive is the queen bee.
The queen bee, so she is a lot bigger than the other bees. She's got a long, skinny abdomen or booty, and she's the most important bee.
And there's literally just one.
There's usually just one.
And she's the boss. She's like the president
Yes.
of the whole beehive.
So all she does is walk around and lay eggs. She can't feed herself. She can't clean herself. So she's got a little group of bees called her attendants that are girl bees that all they do is take care of her. That's all their job is take care of the queen because all she can do is lay eggs.
So how many eggs can the queen lay in a day?
She can lay between 1 and 3,000 eggs in a day, I believe.
Whoa! How many? What would be normal though? That's a huge range.
This time of year, she's laying more into the thousands.
What?
Springtime is when their populations are rising.
Kids, did you hear that? This queen bee can lay thousands of baby eggs every day. And those eggs, how long do they stay eggs before they're born?
So the life cycle is they're going to be an egg for 3 days. It looks like a tiny little grain of rice. And then from day 3 to day 9, it's open. The cell is open and it looks like a little white worm that's getting bigger and bigger. And then on day 9, the nurse bees cap it with wax. And so it becomes just a cell that has a wax cover on it. And then on day 21, that bee will eat its way through that wax and be a full life bee. So it takes
Wow.
21 days from egg to emergence.
Wow. And the queen, is she pregnant at all with the eggs, or is it pretty immediate that she lays them?
She goes out and gets mated one time in her life. So the only time she leaves the hive is when she goes out to get mated and comes back in and never leaves.
And then she just keeps producing eggs off that one time.
Yes.
Wow. All right. The queen wins, man. What a boss. All those attendants cleaning her up. All right, so you kids see the smoker, and Kat's doing that because we're about to go in the beehive, and she told me not to stand right in front of the beehive.
I'll come on this side.
All right.
On that side.
Try not to get stung here, okay?
So I've scoped the front of the entrance. And this is called my hive tool. This is what I use to open everything up because the bees use propolis, which is like a sticky like glue to glue everything down. So they've glued this top down, and so I have to use my hive tool to open it.
But not real glue. It's like a glue they make in their mouths.
Yep.
Whoa.
Well, they get it from trees.
Bees are awesome.
So that's what propolis is.
So the bees make their own glue to keep you out of their hive. But then we bust into their hive like a couple of crooks from Home Alone, which you kids have never seen, of course, because it came out 25 years ago. Look at this, kids. Look at all those bees. So how many bees do you think in this small box?
Oh, I'm pretty bad at guessing like that.
Couple thousand.
Couple thousand.
So-
Couple tens of thousands.
Okay, so 10 or 20,000 bees in this box. I'm gonna get a close up. I'm gonna risk my life for you kids because I love you and I know you're bored not getting to go to school. Look at those bees. So Kat, tell us about some of these bees.
So all the bees you're seeing right now are just girl worker bees. And so you can see they've got clear wings and stripes on their abdomen, and in their booties, let me grab one. Do you see how she's curling herself up?
Oh, I see it all right.
Let me grab another one so you can really see.
Kat is risking her life here. Not really, kids, but.
See how she's curling her booty? She's trying to sting me. Her stinger is in the bottom of her abdomen. But if she stings me, she dies. So the bees, they don't really want to sting you. They only do it when they're really scared, because if they sting you, it pulls out all their belly with them, and so they eventually die.
So it is true that if a bee stings you, they die. How long after they sting you do they die?
Minutes.
Minutes later.
And so, but wasps are different.
Yeah.
Wasps can keep stinging you.
And they sure will.
Yes. Wasps are definitely more aggressive than honeybees. Honeybees, they can be aggressive, but it's usually when they're just being defensive or they're scared.
Okay, so these are worker bees, tens of thousands of them, and the ones on top, are they actually working? What are they doing right now?
They are all doing different jobs. They're taking the sugar syrup that I have in their feeder and making it into honey, but that's kind of fake honey. I would never feed that to you guys. This is just right now, there's not a nectar out in the wild. Okay. And so I feed them sugar water so that they can stay healthy.
And that's in this black part?
Yes, I fed them yesterday.
So you basically give them some fake nectar so they can have something to eat, since they can't find real nectar right now.
Yes.
Because we're coming out of winter.
Yes. So now I'm going to smoke them down.
I appreciate that. Oh boy.
So they're buzzing. They're telling each other. They're communicating. What's going on? What's going on?
It's that crazy lady in the bee suit.
I know. She's coming to mess with us.
Look, they just all disappeared.
So, in the beehive, what you're going to see, I'm going to start using the word brood. Brood is baby bees. That's what I mean by baby bees. And so brood is kind of in your center, and you're going to have honey and pollen towards the outside.
So the baby bees are in the middle, and then the honey and the pollen is on the edges.
Yep.
Okay.
So this frame.
Shoo! Look at all those bees.
If you see the colors, that's all different kinds of pollen from a bunch of different trees and plants. So I see orange and yellow and red and even some gray and black. And then the little liquid shiny things is probably sugar water.
So this is pollen.
This is mostly a pollen and nectar frame.
Yeah, nectar. So they're passing it around here?
Yes, and this side has empty comb and nectar. And actually what they do is they mix pollen and nectar and make bee bread. And that's what they feed to the babies. Bee bread. So because Mr. Chris is here, I'm going to be extra safe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Kids, Kat told me I'm going to answer a question you would ask if we were live. She told me she gets stung by bees all the time, but she's just used to it at this point.
All right. I'm going to let y'all look at this frame. The queen bee is on this frame. She's got a green dot on her back. Let me know it once you find her. Do you see her, Mr. Chris?
Not yet. Oh, I do see her. I'm going to zoom in on her here. Kids, that is the queen bee. Did you mark her?
I did.
Oh, okay, so that's not a natural green dot.
No, I marked her because I knew you guys were coming and I wanted you to be able to see her.
Thank you.
So she's going, what is going on? Do you see
she is so big.
See?
You kids see how big that bee is?
Her attendants are like, hey, we're trying to take care of you.
So the ones around her are trying to keep her clean and feed her, and she's just trying to lay eggs.
She's like, where are you guys? What are y'all doing?
She goes in the holes to lay eggs.
Yes, she sticks her booty down in there. If you look over here, right here, Mr. Chris, I don't know if the camera can pick up on it, but they're little tiny white specks.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the eggs.
Okay.
And then as you get closer to the middle, let me move these bees for you. You can see the white worms, which are the larvae.
Oh, yeah.
And then this right here is the capped brood.
So that's the one they already have a cap
Yes.
on, and those will come out in 21 days.
Yes.
Nice. The queen bee, kids. Did you see her? I'll show you one more time. The green dot. Look how big she is. And she is the boss. She's the president.
So what I'm going to do, so that we don't have to worry about squishing her anymore, I just put her in a queen clip.
Whoa.
So now she's going to be kept safe, so we can go through the rest of the hive and not worrying about squishing her. Because if we squish her, that's bad news.
Yeah, the whole game would be over.
The bees would make a new queen, but it's not always, they're not always successful, because what they do, I'll explain that.
Yeah.
If you kill the queen, what those bees are going to do is take those eggs, once it's about 96 hours old to be exact,
4 days.
they are going to make a queen bee. So they're going to feed it food called royal jelly. It's a different food than the other bees eat, and it's going to grow really big. And it's going to be a big cell. Looks like a peanut on the base of the comb. And in 16 days, she's going to emerge. And she's a virgin queen, and she's going to have to fly out and mate with the boy bees and make it back. But sometimes dragonflies will eat the queen as she's coming back. And if that happens, this whole colony will collapse.
So it's like if you're playing a video game, you lose all your life, so you got to start a new game.
Yes.
And you'd have to start a new beehive.
So my job as a beekeeper, if I accidentally kill a queen, which I have done many times,
Oh, sorry about that.
my job is to make sure this hive can try to take care of itself. So I could go buy a new queen from the store down in Navasota. Bee Weaver or Art Thomas in Rockdale sells good queens. Justin Russell with Prime Bees makes queens. And I can put a new queen in, which with an introduction process. So you have to make the bees like her, because they are going to be like, who is this? This isn't my mom. So you have to make them like her.
How do you do that? How do you make the bees like the new queen?
You put her in a cage that they can't get to her, and you wait for a couple days. It's got candy in it, and so then they eat through the candy slowly, and hopefully by the time they release her, they've decided, okay, we'll take her.
You bribe the bees with candy, just like kids.
Yep, so her smell needs to take over the whole hive, so that the old smell, the old mama smell goes away, and the new mama's new smell they accept.
That's both terrible and beautiful at the same time.
But sometimes they decide they don't want her anyways, and so it's like you get $35 and you just put it on fire and
gone.
Gone.
All right, what do they? I'm hesitant to ask. What do they do if they don't like their queen? Like if they don't accept her as the boss?
If they don't like her, it's called balling. They surround her so tightly that she suffocates.
Okay.
And they start stinging her and or biting at her, things like that.
All right, let's move on. Shouldn't have asked.
So our next frame, we're going to assume, is going to have brood on it. Baby bees. Remember, brood is baby bees. Look at that.
Whoa.
So they've got brood, and they've started kind of backfilling nectar a little bit in the brood area. So as a beekeeper, I'm kind of making a mental note to say, okay, they don't need any more food. They're putting it in places I don't want them to put it. All capped brood right there.
So that's a bunch of babies
that are going to emerge in one frame of bees like this in the cell is going to make 3 frames when they're out of their cell.
Whoa.
So this hive needs another box probably in the next week.
Okay. So now we're moving to the middle, which means we should be close to the honey.
We're getting more brood, and the honey's on the perimeter.
This is so many babies.
A lot of babies in the spring. That's what they're doing, is they're reproducing so they can get really big so they can go out. Because in Bryan, Texas, if you're watching in Bryan, Texas, we've got a very short nectar growing season. It's really end of April, May, beginning of June. That's it. And so the bees need to make their living. They need to make the honey during those months. And so they want to have a lot of workers to be able to go out and do that. More babies.
Amazing.
So pretty much in the spring, you want to see most of your frames having babies and not a lot of honey yet. You want honey, more and more honey, the closer you get to winter. And in Texas, we don't have a real winter, so we don't need a ton of honey. But up in Canada, they need lots of honey to survive. So they're just building wax on this frame. They're starting to build wax.
To get ready to make it into honey.
Yep.
Wow.
So that's pretty much it for this bee colony.
So is there any honey in this one?
There is very little honey in this one.
Almost no honey because they're so young?
Because they're just coming out of, so pretty much November, December, January, February, March, there is no nectar out in the wild, very little. And so they've been eating through their honey those 5 months, and I've been feeding them, but not enough for them to actually make honey.
Got it.
And so in the spring, you're not going to see a lot of honey. So, but in the next month, I'm going to start seeing them build back up, and you want them to have a lot of honey right before July, August, where then we know everything is dead. They're going to have no honey or no nectar out there during the hottest part of summer, and then they'll have a little bit more in the fall, and then whatever honey they've got, that's what they've got to take through winter.
If we came back to this box in July, would these be almost all honey, every one of them?
No, I would want to see probably 2 frames of honey, a frame of pollen, brood, pollen, honey. That's what I'd like to see.
So about 4 things of honey, but that's in every box.
It's in every box.
And you can see all these boxes. If they each had 4 frames of honey, that's a lot of honey.
And I'll explain, once I get this closed back up, Mr. Chris, I'll explain which boxes I take honey from and which boxes I leave for them.
Yeah, that's great.
So what you do when you're working with bees, you just move really slowly.
Because you don't want to crush them.
If you crush a bee, remember what I said, bees are all about smell and vibration. If you crush a bee, it's going to send out a smell that says, hey, one of our sisters died. Who killed her? Let's go get them.
Oh. So that's why they get upset sometimes.
Yes, if you move too fast.
Ooh. Don't move too fast, kids. That's a good lesson in life.
You always got to remember to put the queen back.
Oh.
Do y'all think I've left a queen in a cage sitting out? Yes.
Oh.
Sad.
That is sad.
So I always let her go back in the front door.
Okay, so you're letting the queen go back in.
Not yet. I'm going to put the top on, and then I'm going to let her back in.
Okay. So, Kat, we probably have about 5 or 7 more minutes.
All right.
This has been incredibly informative, and I've not gotten stung by a bee yet. So I'm hoping that that's going to continue. I hope you kids can see all these bees flying around me. So I'm being very brave right now. I haven't squealed yet. Hundreds of bees around me.
So I'm just going to open the clip. Wait till she's facing the hive. Right now she's trying to go out the other way. I'm going to open the clip, and I've watched her go back in.
And once she goes in, she probably won't come back out.
Correct.
Right, she doesn't want to be out here.
She does not want to be out here.
Okay.
So before we finish up for the day, so for my bees, do you want to walk over here?
Yes.
Any honey that's in these 2 boxes, I let the bees keep. That's their food. If they make honey up here, that's what I take to sell to people. Because if I take all the honey, they're going to die in the winter. So I like to leave them with 2 full boxes of bees, honey, pollen, and then anything above these top 2 boxes is what I harvest. And so last year we had an amazing year. I had so much honey. I probably harvested 50 gallons of honey from my bees.
So a gallon, that's what milk comes
Yes,
in.
milk, when you have a big jug of milk.
So when your mom makes you cereal, if she uses regular milk from cows, that's a gallon, and you had 50 gallons of honey last year.
Yes, but some years there's not a lot. The flowers aren't as great, and so I might have 10 gallons or I might have none. So to be a good beekeeper, you have to make sure you're taking care of your bees first, and then you can take honey. So some years I'm going to have 50 gallons. Some years I'm going to have very little. But that's part of being a beekeeper.
So if people live here in Bryan College Station and they want to buy honey from you, can they do that?
Unfortunately, I'm sold out right now, but I've got a lot of really great friends that when I get back to my computer, I'm going to tag them. And if you want to buy good, real, local honey,
great.
I'll tag my friends.
That's awesome.
So another thing to just think about right now is the there's two ways bees reproduce. The queen lays an egg, and then whole beehives will split in half. So this time of year, if this box fills up with bees, the worker bees decide it's time to go. So the old queen will leave her box with 50% of the bees and go find a new home. So a tree trunk that's hollow, a deck box, anywhere. The bees will find any hollow space. Half the colony will leave with their old mama queen and go start a new one, and the bees that are left will make a new queen. So if you're at school one day when you get to go back and you see a tree with a big ball of bees hanging on it, they're looking for a new home. So you could go tell your teacher, hey, there's some bees in that tree, and a beekeeper like myself will go get them so that they don't bother y'all.
Oh, that's awesome.
And another place you'll see bees are like in your swimming pool. Bees love swimming pools because it's got minerals in the water that they need. And so if you see bees in the swimming pool, just think they're looking for water, they're looking for nectar. They're not trying to hurt you. And so if you can stay calm, don't swipe at them because that's just going to make them mad. So just try to remember, if you see a bee at Sonic, at school, just stay calm because they're just looking for food or water and they're not trying to hurt you.
Awesome. Kat, any last words, anything you feel like we missed?
The only thing I want to say is if any of you are like, I want to be a beekeeper, and especially if you live in Bryan, Texas, we've got the Brazos Valley Beekeepers Association. And so our whole purpose is to help kids become beekeepers. And so if you're 12 years and older, you'll take some classes. We'll give you all the equipment and bees that you need to be a beekeeper for free. And then you can become a beekeeper. And in other cities like Austin and Houston and Dallas, they have bee clubs too, and a lot of them have a similar program. So if you're interested in beekeeping as a kid, even if you're just a kid, you can do this too. Just you can send me a message and I'll help you get connected to a local bee club.
Yeah, or they can search on Google
Yep.
their city name plus bee club,
Yep.
beekeeper club or something.
Yes, sir.
That is awesome. All right, Kat, thank you so much. You have been awesome today, super informative. And guys, today was awesome. You guys are awesome. And I'll see you tomorrow for some science experiments. Signing off. Oh, before I forget, don't forget to follow Oh My Word 2020 on Facebook, parents. My friends have a great course for parents to help you have the talk with your kids. Go check them out. I've done it. We love it with our 4 kids, and we're going to use it for years to come. Oh My Word 2020. Kat, thank you so much, and thanks for being flexible. Thanks for making great honey.
Thank you. Have a good one.